Double click. There we go. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Smart Business Moves. I know y'all are confused. Why are we here on time? What's happening? Tom's not here today, y'all. I'm Liz Trotter. Today we have Dan Smith filling in as Tom's, I don't know what to say, fill-in. He's helping.
Fill-in. It's
Yeah,
the replacement.
He's helping out today.
Curvy Tom. We'll call it Curvy Tom.
Yeah, Curvy Tom. I like that. He'd like that too. And our guest today is Ajia Holiday. Y'all know Ajia. So
Hello.
Super excited to have you both here today. Wait, so Tom normally runs this. I got to get my little comments and stuff up here. You know what's going to happen though? We don't have anybody. We have nobody here. You know why? Because they have learned that we never start on time. Why would they?
I don't need to be there yet.
Of course.
Right now they're thinking, I've got time to run to the car, to the pharmacy. I'm going to get some coffee.
They don't even start talking about anything until at least 5 after, at a very, very minimum. I don't think Tom lets us in here until at least 2 minutes after. Maybe 3.
Well, we're at 2 minutes now, so people better start.
People are going to start coming right now. Yeah, and actually,
nobody. Oh, there's
people are coming.
They're ready.
Don, tell the truth, Don. You're not coming straight up on the hour. You know we're always late, right? You're confused. What are we doing here so early? Yeah. All right. Well, first up, what do we want to talk about real quick? Our PSAs here. First thing is next event for y'all, Ajia. Is it?
We've got
August?
September. Oh, we've got August. We've got an AI event in August for MaidCentral in Rochester. Lisa Shaw is hosting that. You can find out more about that at maidcentral.ai. And then we've got our next.
For y'all.
Yep. And then we've got our next MaidCentral live event in September, which is coming after your event that same week, September 22nd through the 28th or 23rd through the 28th. We've got a full week of stuff. Liz is doing managing by the numbers, right?
Guess what? MaidCentral.ai will not post everywhere because it goes against community standards.
Since when?
Yeah. It will post to Clean Business Today, MaidCentral, and Core Profit Builders, but not, it's probably going to groups or maybe pages, but not groups. It's going to one or the other.
Weird. I wonder if it needs the HTTPS on it.
I don't know who Outsourcing Business Idea is, but hello.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Weird. Well, so you can type it in and go to it if you aren't able to find it, but maidcentral.ai. You can find that there, or just maidcentral.com/events, and you can see all of our upcoming events. And then we've got the live event in September following Liz's Managing by the Numbers event. So you can spend a whole week in Charleston at the Castle Keeper's office and get a whole lot of, you can learn how to manage by the numbers, and you can learn how to find your numbers all in the same week.
Yeah. And also at Lisa's, I'm following you. You guys are doing the AI workshop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm doing a client nurture program. So if you want to build a client nurture program, come hang out in Rochester, New York with Lisa Shaw.
Yeah, and then I think I'm also doing a webinar on the same topic on consistency next month as well on July 10th.
Okay.
So all of those things are on the MaidCentral events page.
So if they are here today talking about consistency, do they also want to be at your webinar next month? Going to be more stuff, different stuff. All right, yeah.
More just probably more structured, more action items type things, less theory, more activity on the webinar. So more of a workshop type webinar than the theory of consistency that we'll be kind of talking about today.
And I really love, you know me, I do love me some workshops, right?
Yeah.
I have stopped doing anything that isn't a workshop, actually. I want a workshop.
I am still struggling with the idea of how to get workshops in a way that I feel people are getting good outcomes from it and that they can repeat themselves in an ongoing basis. But I'm definitely finding more ways to just make everything a workshop. How do I just make this an activity?
Yeah.
Activities all the way.
I like people working. get them working. Yeah, get to work.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. You don't need to sit around.
I'm sitting on the sideline and I'm hearing this event, that event, workshop, power, and I'm thinking, you guys are coming out of the gate hot on this meeting today. You're already showing consistency and enhancing value. Just one right after another. I'm
Ooh, wow.
impressed. Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah. Looks like people are already saying that. Oh, yeah. See, Dawn is used to me. Crack that whip. She loves to get people working too. All right. So, hey, Dan, we have you on here today. You have something coming up on the 1st. I know, but can you talk about it at all?
I do. There, there's no secrets in this industry. We're here to help each other. We're here to learn from one another. On the 1st of July, anybody know what the 1st of July represents? That's a softball. That's a lob.
The beginning of 3rd quarter.
That's right.
Halfway through the new year.
Second half of the year, y'all.
The second half of the year is already here.
Yeah.
So I, in part with Liz Trotter and Maria Dorian, represent Listening Sales, the go-to sales course, curriculum, material for your team, and specifically created for the home services space. I'll end my elevator pitch there, but I'll tell you that on July 1st, we've got a special offer coming out. Now, we've all heard special offers, right? You hear special offer and you're like, yeah, right. Okay. Except how many times do you hear name your own price? So I'll just throw that as a teaser out there. Name your own price. So you don't know what it is, right? That's not a big teaser, but what's inherently different is there's not a lot of offers that involve name your own price. So be sure to be on the lookout. And for some reason you miss it, reach out to me, reach out to Liz, reach out to Maria, and we'll get you filled in.
So we'll have Listening Sales something, name your own price, coming on the 1st. Keep an eye out. Look at Dan's page, my page, Maria's page. All right. We did all of the PSAs.
Woohoo! In only 8 minutes, we did it.
And this is why I like you have to come in on time. Like we have to come in on time because they take so long, right? If we come late, it's like 20 after before we get through the PSA. Oh my gosh. All right. So consistency. That's what we're going to talk about today. And we're talking about consistency. We're going to be talking about it coming from a couple of different perspectives. So Ajia is going to be talking about consistency coming specifically from data coming out of MaidCentral, correct, Ajia? Yeah.
Yeah. And a scheduling kind of data, scheduling efficiency, just like how it connects to all of your numbers. Yeah.
Basically data, right? We're all going to be talking about data. And then Dan and I are going to be piling on with some consistency stuff around sales and how important consistency is to your sales process as well. So that's it. Anybody got any thoughts about consistency? Actually, I've got a question for you. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 is high. Anybody that knows me knows 5 is always high. 1 is always low. How important would you think consistency is to retention of your clients? 1 to 5. Throw your number. Don't tell the answer, y'all. Don't tell the answer.
Oh, too late.
So for those of you that are watching, correct answer might be ta-da! Yay, Dawn.
Sorry, didn't know you weren't talking to me.
Yeah, just seeing what our audience is thinking, right? But so far we got Dawn in here coming in with a 5, but Ajia and Dan, obviously, y'all are telling.
We cheated. We'll do it next time.
Important. So important. So go ahead. Start us out here, Ajia. Why is it so important?
I mean, to our customer retention, I always bring it back to the 3 stakeholders, right? Our company, we've got 3 stakeholders: the company, our customers, and our technicians. On the customer side, consistency being, same person in your home, same team, same day, same time. All of that equates to it hits multiple levels. You've got consistency and quality if the same person is coming into your home. You've got consistency and trust, right? Like we don't have a lot of people that we give access to our houses, that we give a key to our house to. I make that joke. I make this joke all the time of, we've got, how many people do we give access to our toothbrush and our toilet at the same time? So having that person in your house that you can trust, and knowing that it's the same person every time, just as a level of ease and just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like comfortability that you can get as a customer. You also are able to get like more consistent arrival times. So you know when to expect when your technician is going to be there. So as a customer, the consistency level is it's huge, and you don't have to promise it. Honestly, it's almost better when it's a surprise, right? Like when the same person just starts showing up all the time and you're like, oh, it's Jessica again. Like, hey, Jessica, nice to see you. Have a good time. Like,
yeah,
maybe we'll see you next time. And then Jessica shows up again and it's like, oh my gosh, this company's so great. Like, this is awesome. Like, they didn't promise this. They didn't tell me that this was going to happen. And now I'm just getting the same person all the time, and I never have to worry about it or think about it. And now I just have this really great company just serving me without any issues over and over again, clean after clean. And it just keeps the train rolling so much faster, so much easier.
I got two things.
Yeah.
One is actually, the first one's a two-part, so it's going to sound like I've already hit
two and a half.
Yeah, 2.5. So on the first thing that I want to say is, if they've ever had a cleaning company before, and you do like Ajia says, and you don't tell them, and you start sending the same person out all the time, they're going to be blown away. It's going to be like, what the heck? This company is amazing. If they have never had a cleaning company before and you start sending the same person out all the time, you're setting the bar, right? So in your area, how many people send the same person every time. So that's my first point. Win-win on that side, right? Win-win for you, also win-win for the customer. Now, the second point is, some of you are right now going, oh, but how am I going to do that? I have turnover. How am I going to do it when my people are out? And oh, hey, Kevin, good to see you. So some of you are just like feeling frustrated right now. Like, what? Yeah, of course, everybody wants to do that, but it's not possible. Oh, there's Linda. Everybody come on.
Good to see you for the second time today.
Yeah. All right. So talk to us about that second one there, where we know that, people. Well, first, Dan, did you have anything to say about?
I do. Right. There's the once they've been a customer side that Ajia speaks to, but there's also the consistency in building a strong brand, your messaging, your marketing. Right. So before they even become a customer, how many times do they need to see you before they're willing to give you a chance? And across all your marketing material, all your branding, your team uniforms, the neighbor watching across the street, what consistency are you delivering that gets them to take that first step to begin with? So kind of both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. Anybody here on this call wondering, or on this webinar right now wondering, yeah, but how? I would love to do that, but I have no idea. If so, hit us up here. Just say yes.
Say yes. Anybody say yes.
Yeah, say yes. Well, Dawn is always in here. She's ready for my yes over there.
Oh, they all know how. Just kidding. Yeah. They don't need us today. I don't know. They all know. They all know how.
I guess we could take the rest of the day off.
Yeah, I guess they don't need us. Weird.
The people that watch us on recording, they're counting on us to follow through, ladies.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got our first yes. We got our first yes there. All
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
And I told you to do Dawn.
It's always Dawn. We can rely on you, Dawn. We love you. Yeah. So there's there's a lot of different ways to maintain consistency. And actually I did have one extra little piece on the building the brand and kind of your business persona with the consistency as well. That first impression because I'm consistent. I love that. The first impression with new customers, like that consistency early on is gigantic. Oh, yeah. And that's usually when people don't think it's as important. Like they usually prioritize consistency with more long-term customers where they're like, oh, Mrs. Jones has been a customer for so long, we have to send her Abigail every single time. Yeah. When it's like, actually that first impression is almost more important, and in valuing that consistency a little bit higher and making sure that your professionalism of your company in that consistency is really being prioritized. So
do you think that's related, at least in some part, to expectation from the customer side and building that? And
I think it is a little bit. I mean, we talked about the difference in people who have had a cleaning service before, that you're already raising the bar compared to other services, versus customers who haven't had a cleaning service before, and you're setting the bar compared to other services by giving consistency. And then if you're just giving it, you're just filling in some of those gaps that could happen by giving the consistency. And you create gaps by sending different people, right?
Okay, talk more about that. Tell us about creating gaps.
we're taking those scenic route to your question, but when you send different people, the first person that goes there, they know how much time they spent on something. They know that they scrubbed, the shower really well last time, and they know if they need to do that every time or not. If they go back 2 weeks later and that shower still needs to be scrubbed that way, they now know that they need to scrub that shower that way every single time. And it creates that kind of expectation for how to treat that house ongoing. Whereas if the next person comes in and they see that shower and they think that they have to scrub it, they're going to start creating this idea of, oh, the last person that cleaned this house didn't do a good job. So you're already creating, you're sowing this issue between your team even by just a house, by a house being a house, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also the issue of maybe they talk to the customer about that, or, they're setting this weird issue with the customer too. But if the same person goes to it, they now have the expectation of knowing, okay, I need to spend this amount of time on that shower every single time, or that shower's stained and I don't need to scrub it that way every single time. And they can cut some time off of it, and they can add it to the notes so that if somebody else does have to cover the house, they know what to take care of. It's just like if you go into a house multiple times in a row, you just know what's there permanently and what you actually need to spend time on. It helps when we're talking about numbers. This helps benefit productivity in homes. So you reduce the total time spending in home by having the same person go to the house every single time. You also reduce efficiency, or increase efficiency. Sorry, you make better efficiency, whatever. So if you have the same houses in order every time, your technicians are also able to spend less time in between houses because they can make better routes. They can not choose the stupid, coagulated routes every single time. They can pick the more...
what kind of route?
That was not the word I wanted, but I knew it started with a C and I knew it had a G.
Convoluted. Maybe convoluted?
Nope.
Nope.
Congealed.
Not coagulated.
He's talking about congealed.
Nope. Still not it. Nope.
We're not. Okay, anybody that's got the CG word.
It has a G. Congested.
What is it? Congested.
Congested.
Yay.
I knew it had a C and a G, and that's all I got. So coagulated came out.
But
anyways.
You know what? That is a really good point, because when people, I just want to tag into this just a little bit, because depending on the way you pay too, we were talking in circles today, we were talking about on different pay structures and, how different pay structures have different issues that you wouldn't think that you would have. But one of them came up today that if I'm getting paid hourly, I tend to drive the congested route on purpose. Where if I'm not getting paid hourly, I don't want to drive that congested route. Now, but that's the thing that I want to say. One thing that we also recognized was, you know what? Human beings tend to not like congested routes.
Yeah. Nobody likes it.
Right. Even if they are getting paid hourly. So this was the argument today in the circles was, I disagree. If behavioral psychology says the congested route is the bad route, and if I'm going there every 2 weeks like clockwork, I'm staying away from that route.
I'm going to find the fastest route every single time. I'm going to try and find that fastest route
and
to that next house.
For me, the most convenient, what is best for me.
Yeah. And if that's the route that I'm going to take my break on, I'm going to find the quickest, easiest break to take on that route every time too.
Absolutely.
It's just in our nature to find that competitiveness. Even when we're looking at our GPS, we can't look at the GPS with being 10 minutes, bet. Like, I'm gonna make it 8. You know, like we just can't. You know,
That's not only me.
yeah, we all have a little bit of that competitive nature in ourselves. So like, use it to your advantage in the consistency side of things. If you just keep them going to the same houses on rotation all the time, they're going to use that competitive nature to your advantage.
I love that.
So Ajia, you are a person of many skills, and everyone knows you for a million different things. I know you, among other things, as phenomenal with numbers and charts and data, and that's what you've spoken to, the technical side. But that technical side translates in the same delivery, of everything you just said on the technical side. It also translates to the relationship side, and that is the same visit and learning the name of the pets and learning the name of the kids, and the homeowner asking the technician, you know, do you have kids, and what's your story, and how was your weekend, and that increases the relationship and the value and the efficiency of what we're delivering and the long-term retention. And then now we swing back to the numbers, right? So that relationship piece, that's a twofold, that's a double whammy in offering higher enhancing value, if you will.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this is customer service.
Yeah.
So everything that we are doing is relationships. And I am very numbers orientated, but it is always back to the relationship. So for consistency's sake, we started with the customer, but I actually think about it mostly on the technician side, is that consistency value, like, benefits the technicians the most, and therefore benefits everybody else even more. So the technicians get the most out of consistency, and
tell us about it.
Yeah, so
about that.
Yeah, the technicians get the most out of this. I'm going to bring it down, like, all the way down first of all. So our main workforce right now being, millennial, Gen Z, we're starting to see Gen Alpha, even like young age. Gen Alpha is even starting.
What's that?
Those are the youngins. Those would be like our 16, 17-year-olds that might be starting to tap into it. So those are going to be the babies, we're going to barely start seeing those. Actually, those still are probably going to be Gen Z. Gen Alpha is probably like 12 or 13 now. So that might be a little early for Gen Alpha, but Gen Z, millennials are older, but we're still high anxiety generations. Yeah. We're built this way at this point. And one way that we kind of get negatively affected by this industry is the really unpredictable nature. And there's lots of things that we can't help about that. Unpredictable end times is a big part of this industry. Not always knowing what your days are going to look like. And for some people with high anxieties, that is just like tough. And we'll work through it when our, motivations are high enough to help people and to have that customer service nature. So when we can minimize some of that anxiety by increasing the consistency of things, by being like, okay, every other Tuesday I see these 2 houses, and then Wednesday comes along and I do these 2 houses, and they can have a little bit more of a predictable nature with their recurring schedule that reduces the anxiety, increases their happiness in their job.
Yeah.
So now
let's go to the next. In the morning feeling better. They don't wake up in the morning going, what's going to happen
today?
Tuesday. What do we normally do? Oh, they're always messing. They don't have any of that. They wake up. Okay, Tuesday, I got Mrs. Johnson, and then I'm going to go see Mrs. Smith. Okay, I love those pets.
I think of it back to like the Gallup survey, the Gallup 12 survey. One of the first questions is, I know what's expected of me. Mm-hmm. And I know what to expect of my job. I think one of the first 2 questions is those 2 questions, I'm pretty sure. And with consistency and in this industry and being a cleaning technician, that I know what to expect from my job. That one is just like a straight up no if you don't prioritize consistency. So if you can give them that expectation of at least 80% of their week, they know what houses they're going to be seeing.
So Dan, I'm gonna tag into you on this real quick, because of the 3 of us, you're the only one actually running a cleaning business right now.
Yeah. Right? I was waiting to chime in. Yeah. Was there more you wanted to expand on that volley?
I've always got more, but keep going.
No, Liz, was there something?
And you.
Was there something you wanted to draw out in conversation from me, or you just throwing the floor open?
All I want from you is you are working with the people that she's talking about. Is this ringing true? Can you see how, oh my gosh, yes, with the workforce that we currently have, this is absolutely, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but she already did. And I'm just saying, tag, I know it's true. And you're kind of our proof.
Yeah. So I had two things going through my mind. It's fitting to my time on the floor here. Number one is it's easy for some people at this stage to have only heard, I need to arrive at the house with the same tech every single time. And that's part of the equation, right? So if you find yourself right now thinking that that's the only thing we're talking about, that's one piece of the puzzle. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Number two, so at Homemade Better, we call that, and it's so cheesy, but genuine. I call it the circle of happiness. And when I say that to the techs purposely to get them to laugh. I say it as a comical entry, right? But it is my opening line to illustrate, if you don't hate the company you work for, right? You're respected, you're taken care of, you're paid well. We hire good people, and we do the responsible thing as business owners to make sure that we're always mining that need. And ultimately in the circle of happiness, you don't hate who you work for. Okay. So now coming to work feels different, right? You come to work, you have that consistency in the home with the client, you're building relationships, you fall as a technician, you fall in love with Miss Johnson, you like Mr. Johnson, you got your favorites. So now the customer is pleased because they're seeing you all the time, and the customer being pleased results in longevity, right? They're a client longer, which helps the customer or company, which ultimately the business owner is pleased. So if you have the circle of happiness in motion and you're adding new clients into the circle, then okay, you're a growing company, but more importantly, everybody's taken care of along the way. So that's my introduction to technicians, and why I explain it's so important that all these pieces be taken care of, and my office team, because a circle of happiness, it's a silly label, but at the end of the day, if everybody's happy in that mix, the rotation keeps spinning in the right direction.
Yeah, I used to say something very similar of just like, the idea that we're not just creating a space for our customers to have a clean place to show up better in their lives, but also like the job is a place for our technicians to show up better in their lives. Like if you hate your job, you're just going to go home and you're going to find the nearest person that will listen to you, and you're going to complain at them about how much you dislike your job. And then you're going to go to bed and you're going to do it all over again the next day. And that's not the life that we want to live. Yeah. So like the more that you can reduce the want to just go home and complain about your job, the better. So like consistency is a piece of that, in that you can go home and talk about, oh my gosh, I got to see the Jones family today, and they have the cutest dog, and I got to play with the dog again today. And we do this little like routine every time I come to clean their house. Like those are the relationships, we're in customer service, and that relationship building comes from this. And I think you're right. Like all we've talked about is like, yeah, we want to have same team, we want to see the same customer and the same people all together all the time. This is connecting why these are important and how these things relate, because I think on the other side of things, not being in management anymore, what I hear often is people prioritizing efficiency all the time, scheduling efficiency, where they're constantly just trying to put the houses nearest to each other because they want the drive times to be as close together as possible. And that's not going to give you your best results. It'll give you your best drive times. That doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, that is one KPI, right? Efficiency is one KPI.
Let's talk about this also. Oh, go ahead, finish up. And then I want to make another point around this.
Yeah. So efficiency is one KPI, whereas consistency will affect efficiency, productivity, customer attrition, technician turnover, and quality straight out the gate. By focusing on consistency, those 5 KPIs will be able to be improved. That just straight out the gate. You'll also be able to improve payroll percent of revenue almost every single time. And by having those will increase your just general service. You can increase your bill rate per hour as well. So like that's 7 of 12 of our core KPIs that MaidCentral, 7 out of 12 just off the top of my head that consistency affects. So it's like, yeah, you can focus on efficiency, scheduling efficiency. That's one KPI, and it actually doesn't have very huge returns, right? If you really improve that one, your returns on that one aren't great, and it's not going to make your people happier. You're probably actually going to make people angry. If you keep moving Mrs. Jones's house every single time just because it has a better drive time, she's actually going to get peeved because she's never seeing the same person every time and her quality of service is never good. And your technicians never know who they're going to visit. Whereas if Mrs. Jones is seeing the same person every single time, you've now improved 7 KPIs. So it's like it's interesting. Like, this is where I just bring it back to the numbers of like, yeah, they're all numbers, but this one has a very psychological reasoning behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, go for it, Liz. What do you got?
And I really wanted to talk about something else. So we're going to answer. Wendy's got a question, and then Diana Henley's also got a question we're going to hit up. But for those of you that are like, yeah, I know, but, and you're thinking, I have to make the jobs close together because that's how I'm going to make more money. I lose too much money when I have to, send them around and drive them all over the place. I would challenge you to check out all 7 of those KPIs and see. Now, if you're not using MaidCentral, this is not a MaidCentral call. This is Smart Business Moves call. You don't have to use MaidCentral to use this methodology, this thinking, this strategy. I challenge you to check out everything that is impacted by you focusing so strongly on efficiency and not on consistency, and see what is the actual money that is attached to the other things, not just the drive time. Everybody tracks the drive time and the money attached to that. But how about if you have, using Dan's term, if you don't have the circle of happiness, right? And somebody's not happy, are they going to stay with you as long as the person who is happy? Let's just talk about just that one number right there. Yeah. If you just turn over that one person just 1 month earlier, how much money is that going to cost you? Mm-hmm. How much efficiency are you going to have to change and adjust to be able to make up for just that one number? All right. I just want to say one last thing, and then Dan, I'm going to let you talk real quick. 8 and 8. So this is the thing that we see y'all do a lot. Tom and I talk about this a lot on Smart Business Moves. So one of the sayings that you hear out in the world is, don't trip over to dollars to pick up pennies, right? So we talk about that. And we talk about how on your P&L, some of you are over there focusing on your expenses, and you're like trying to get those supply costs down, getting everybody on those magic erasers, and you're trying to reduce your supply costs by 8%, 0.5%, which is going to take you this much time versus those 4 percentage points that you have up there on your direct labor. Right? Yep. Don't do this, y'all. Don't be focusing in on efficiency. This is Smart Business Moves for a reason.
Yes.
Smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Go, Dan.
Yeah. So, we're here to talk about being smart, but I'm gonna throw out something that might be confrontational. I want not confrontational. That's not the word I'm mixing up as well.
Starts with a C and has an N.
Controversial. Controversial. I was thinking, I don't really want to argue with you ladies, but controversial. So
we love to argue.
So I would love to hear your opinion for the greater good. I see Wendy's question on the screen, and before that question even popped up, I had going through my mind. We talk about the consistency piece and all the KPIs that are impacted by that Ajia spoke to. But ultimately, I challenge the thought that while we can focus on any one thing, or we can focus on it from a technical standpoint, from a KPI standpoint, or a P&L standpoint, but if we back it up a little bit and we take whatever period of time that looks like for your company, if it's not already in place, and we put all of our emphasis on creating an environment where our employees say, I've never worked for a company like this before. They have a emotional,
In a good way, right?
yeah, in a good way.
All
They
right.
have an emotional
Sure.
movement where they recognize this is not like any other employer I've worked for, right? So that is like, to me, that this is not a theory I just thought of. At Homemade Better, my core seed when planting pretty much anything is how does it run with our core values? Is this a place that people are going to feel like they're taken care of? We're a family company, all the things that we all say. But at the end of the day, do your employees tell you, or do they tell others, or do they recruit and bring in their friends? Because this is unlike any other place I've ever worked for. And that is a strong foundational building block for, okay, now they're bought in. Now they feel valued. Now they care about their scorecard. They care about the aspects of the business that someone who is just there for a check, they don't. In my company, if you guys, for those of you that know me out there, I don't have all the answers, but I'm always committed to trying something different and trying to see how we improve. And ultimately, I think what we have the most luck in is when they're bought in, when a technician's bought in, then everything else is easier in conversation. It's easier to speak to the pieces that Ajia talks about. And I'll close my point with the alternative to make sure that my message isn't lost here is, if it's just analytical, if it's just logical, if it's just, I need you guys to do this or that because you're not going to resonate. You're not going to connect. You're not going to get their buy-in, and you're pushing uphill versus, walking alongside them.
I lost the controversy part.
Where was that controversial?
For the data analytic nerds out there, it's beyond just the numbers, right? The numbers matter, but the numbers are easier when the people are in place.
Okay, got you. Yeah, that's not controversial. We all agree. Sorry.
So yeah, we've got. I do want to answer Wendy here.
Thank you.
So I have one last place on the value, and then that is look at the value of, and I come to my webinar in a month or in a couple of weeks, but the lifetime value of one technician versus lifetime value of one customer is like 10-fold, 20-fold, something like that. So the consistency value to a technician is unbelievably insane. And even if we took the other 7 KPIs out of this, I always believe that if we take care of our technicians, they'll take care of our company and our customers. Like, honestly, they take care of everything else if we take care of our technicians. Yeah. So, okay. Answering Wendy's question, how do you balance staff coming and going and who have great relationship with clients and people who will skip a clean if their regular cleaner isn't available? I love this. I love that you have customers that love your technicians so much that they will skip a clean. That is amazing. That means that you have technicians that are stellar and rock stars who are absolutely serving your customers in a brilliant way.
And
so
you're already doing some good job on consistency. Otherwise,
you're already doing a great job with consistency. Yeah. So I am going to frame this in a couple of ways. First thing that you really want to make sure that you are doing from like baseline level is establishing your recurring schedule. And that is establishing it for your teams or technicians if you run teams or solos, laying that out on a recurring basis, knowing who has what homes on a recurring schedule. In MaidCentral, we call this the master schedule, but you can build this in a spreadsheet form. I've seen this on whiteboards. I've seen this on poster boards on walls. Essentially where you're saying that this is
just do it
any way you want it. You just need to find a way to lay out your permanent schedule. So even if somebody skips a clean, reschedules a clean, pauses for a month, something like that, that this customer has this home at the first slot of the day on Mondays, no matter what, and we're not giving that slot to anybody else. That's the first step. Now, if somebody leaves, turns over and they have a customer that is highly particular, has loved that, that technician, you definitely want to communicate. Communication is key, having open communication and over communication about this, letting everybody on their team know that was reliant on that technician. Hey, they've moved on to their next amazing thing. We don't expect anybody to clean for forever. Most of us aren't planning on having people retiring from our jobs that we're providing. Most of us, I don't think, are expecting that. Some of us have some lifers, but we don't expect all of them to be lifers.
Nobody's expecting everyone to be a lifer.
Yeah, we might have some lifers here or there, but most of them are not going to be lifers. So, hey, they've moved on to their next thing. We have so-and-so coming in to fill in their team. If, offering a quality check if they want one, just to making sure that they're going to be home that time to introduce them, just kind of easing them into the new person and communicating that. Now, the cool thing about this is that you're going to essentially fill the new person in with their whole new schedule. They're going to have a whole new schedule ready to go for them. Or another method to do with this is that you kind of don't put the entire pressure of your rock star technician on one new person. You split it across everybody that you can. This is where your schedule efficiency can become a priority. Where now all those stupid drives that you might have had previously on this technician can now be cleaned up because you're going to put them onto other permanent technicians that you have that might have cleaner jobs or cleaner drives. They're going to get a new technician anyways. It doesn't matter what house they're after at this point. They just need a good new permanent spot that you can give. I lost the word, that you can give all the time.
Oh my gosh, I'm giving y'all my disease here. This is a Liz thing where the word is forgotten.
No, I mean, it's actually, I take a medication where one of the side effects is forgetting words, and I already have an issue with forgetting words. So now it's just extra bad. So
I really always think this is just me. I feel like y'all are like staging this for me.
No. I always have this. And then in the last couple of months since I started this medication, which is helping the problem it's supposed to help, it's just giving this one side effect. I will gladly take this one side effect. But as long as you're able to do that on a consistent basis, anyways, then you can throw those houses onto other teams, fix some of that scheduling efficiency at the same time, while also still giving your technicians a consistent schedule and those customers a consistent technician. So go ahead.
And one more reason about why this might be your better option is for those of you that are struggling with, but the people come and they go and they come and they go. Your set people, put them on employees that are already set, right? So you have less of a chance of them leaving. You hired a brand new person. You don't know if she or he is sticking around yet. You just don't know. Are they going to be here in a month? So don't take your permanent people and put them on the brand new person. Then if they leave, you got to put them on another one. That's how you get into that bad cycle of every other time they clean, they're sending a new person. So the second option that Ajia just pointed out is typically the better option if you have a lot of set people in your company.
Yeah, because then you can, so there's a couple other benefits of this too, is that, so one full person turns over, you pull apart their entire schedule as much as possible, creating really good drives with everything that you can pull onto other technicians. What's left is a skeleton schedule for a new technician. It's not a completely full schedule, but it's a start of a new schedule for them where they're going to be able to meet their new customers. And that's their new start of a consistent schedule. They've got a lot of openings now for bigger jobs to do move out cleans, initial cleans, large jobs like that, where they can start building their own clientele. And I say this to people and they get freaked out. They're like, wait, did you just say you're sending new people to move out cleans and initials? And I'm like, absolutely. Abso-positive-alutely, because I'm not going to send my 100% top performer to those cleans because I'm just going to set the most unrealistic expectations for that customer from the get-go. If you send the best technician to those cleans and then you send your average technician who's already meeting expectations and does everything that you expect them to do, but they're not necessarily giving 200% like top tier Tina does, that customer is never going to be happy. You've already set them up for failure because top tier Tina's full. And so Now you give them a person. I consider new customers like baby birds. They imprint on the first thing that they see. So as long as you send them somebody who is nice and cares about their home, and actually, you hired them based off of the qualities that they can bring to your company, that's all that they need. They're baby birds and they just want somebody to help them with the service that they're asking for. They don't need top tier Tina to send them over the mountain,
Yeah.
So
and
Ajia,
it just creates this great little cycle.
yeah, you and I have never talked about this before, and that's actually our work process for new techs coming on board at Homemade Better.
Good.
So you touched on, and I just want to illustrate. I want to illustrate, in a real world example, what you touched on. When we have a technician who leaves and they have a whole full schedule, I don't want to take that full schedule of established, happy, recurring clients and introduce them to somebody new who may not be here in 3 weeks, or who may not hit the bar, or who may need extra help. So case in point, I'll my office team will disperse those clients accordingly based on location and personality and so forth. But the new technician that comes in, and I don't have opposition to what you're saying. They're doing the new cleans in conjunction with the existing team. So they're not flying on their own, but that for us, that's a period for them to develop their chops, right? They're putting in the hard work, and it's not a dangled carrot, but it's almost the road to, I can't wait until I'm good enough to get my clients so I don't have to do these deep cleans and the next new person can do them.
Exactly.
And we can, and you get to the chase quicker with who's going to stay and who's successful and who has what it takes. And you're not risking the clients that you have an established relationship with.
I mean, it's not hazing, but we all got to do our time. Like, that's really what it is. It's just a little bit, but it's like, we all got to do our time in those crappy jobs. And
fair is fair.
It works out that your established technicians, right, have their set schedules that they're cleaning all of their consistent homes, and they have their regular schedule unless somebody skips or they're off or whatever. They're going to finish their days earlier, typically, and then they go and help at those longer initial clean jobs and help finish them up, make sure all the little details are taken care of, and they can help kind of round out those new technicians a little bit too. So that can, just adding to that little piece where, they're working in conjunction with the newbies and just making sure that all those little details that are part of the company's expectations are getting completed.
There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn about new person in that process. Now, Diana is consistent with her question here, or
I know
maybe she asked it once and Liz has posted it multiple times, but it looks like consistency.
Well, she posted this, and then hold on just 1 second. So here is her question, and then she also gives this example.
So this number, and I know Diana's on MaidCentral, and we do have a consistency report that offers 4 different consistency numbers. So I don't know exactly which number she's talking about here, because it could be default team, default time, unique technicians, or arrival time, are all 4 consistency numbers that could be.
Let's have you go over those again, Ajia.
So default team has this customer been cleaned by the default team? Meaning, are we moving this off of this team all the time? If we are, we probably need to adjust the master schedule. This is going to be the same thing if you're using a master schedule or any other kind of permanent schedule. If you're moving it all the time, it needs a new home. That's what I call it, is a home, right? It's a permanent space in your permanent schedule. That's its home. If you're moving it all the time, it needs a new home. Default time, same thing. If you're moving it all the time, more than 15 minutes here or there just to make a good drive time, it probably needs a new home. Unique technicians is looking at, okay, yeah, it was cleaned by the default team, but it's been a different technician every single time. That's usually a sign of high turnover, or maybe this team is just having a hard time latching on to somebody good, something like that, where it looks like it's the same team coming every single time, but there's a different person on that team happening all the time. And then arrival time being, we told them we were going to arrive between 12 and 2. Did we arrive in that arrival time or not? So those are the 4 different pieces of consistency that your technicians or your customers are probably looking at, so that you want to look at as well. Unique technician percentage, I think that's pretty good. If you're running solos having an idea that you're probably going to hit between 7 and 10% absentee rate, 7 and 10% skip rate. That can, multiply on top of itself to get about a 15 to 20% drop in consistency. So about 80% is really, that's stellar, right? If you can hit a company level of 80% consistency, that's absolutely insane. So 50 to 70% feels really good to me, that if you're hitting that across most of your customers, you're honestly doing really, really well with solos. I haven't been able to dial in exactly what I would expect from teams as far as unique technicians go, because that's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 4 houses, you've got 2 technicians. Any combination of 4 houses and 2 technicians can mean a lot of differing numbers. So it's really hard to dial in a percentage number on that. Typically, we want to have at least 1 common technician on a team of 2 going to every home each time. It just makes it's just so many more moving pieces that consistency is a lot harder with a team of 2. Still very possible and still very easy, very able to be done. But you do have to pay attention a little bit more and making sure that you're labeling your team lead and making sure that that team lead is the one that you're really following the home with, things like that. So I would say those numbers are really good, Diana, that 50 to 80%. I mean, 80% is insane. I think 50% I think is good.
She's saying that
62% is, I think that's, if you're looking at a 62% as a company, I would say that's pretty great. I think you could maybe push it up just a little bit more if you're running solos, depending on your absentee and skip rates. If those are at like the 7% range, you might be able to push that up just a little bit higher. But honestly, we just run it. We work in a very moving part type industry. Things happen, things change last minute often, and we have to be able to adjust with that. But those are the things those are the only things that we should be adjusting, right? Don't be touching your schedule all the time. That's screwing up your consistency. I really want to make sure I say that at least 2 more times in the next 9 minutes. Do not touch your schedule all the time. Touch it twice.
So we're talking
for each day.
we're talking about the power of consistency in enhancing value, right? There's been a huge focus, like the topic that came to be today is the technician side, the scheduling, the operation, the mechanics, the numbers. And for somebody at home who might have already checked out, or maybe they feel that this is it's overwhelming to them. I just want to go out and say there's so many different other angles that apply to how we can enhance value with consistency, and that is in your sales process, that is in your training process, that's in your employee recognition process. There's endless areas that can be segmented. They all impact each other, but when you talk about what are we going to work on today to move the ball forward? Well, today we can work on the mechanics of scheduling and all the things we've talked about. But I want to challenge those at home. There's all these other areas as well. And I want to end that point with how do you look at all this and not feel like, oh my gosh, I have enough to do already. How am I going to do all these things in order to reach my level of success or reach my goals and dreams?
Can I throw a weird curveball at you?
Yeah.
So I would say that if everybody who has watched this, whether they came in on a revolving door, have been watching this the whole time, or if they listen to this later, if they took the time over the next, I would say 2 weeks, right, to hit all of your biweekly clients, weekly clients, and half of your monthly clients, to set your recurring schedule, I would say that if they prioritize this for 2 weeks, they would reduce their work time by 15%, at least by minimum 15%. Reducing complaints, reducing scheduling time, reducing hiring, because their turnover is going to going down. They won't have to be fighting so hard for sales. I mean, obviously you still want sales, but their churn of their customers is going to start going down as well. Like it's so funny to me because it sounds like it must be so much work to prioritize consistency. It must be so much work. And I think I blow people's brains up when I say that when you prioritize consistency, you can reduce your office staff. You don't need a full-time scheduler anymore, right? It's not necessary. If you have a good recurring schedule system, you should be only spending about, I don't care what size company you have, whether it's 50 clients or 1,000 clients, I would say maximum 15 hours a week on scheduling, maximum. And that is 3 hours a week to set your schedule for the whole week, and then about 2.5 hours per day, and that's on the high end, of morning rerouting for call outs and last minute cancellations, and then afternoon rerouting for helping. 15 hours on scheduling, and then any other sort of random little bits for rescheduling and cancellations. 15 hours. That is my hot take. That is my one hot take on scheduling. And if you really are able to focus on this for 2 weeks and get your recurring schedule built out and then maintaining it, you're going to have so much time for activities.
Ajia, I want to thank you for counterbalancing at such a high intelligent level what I was about to say, and that is the consistency of what you're doing to get this done. Like, we're talking about consistency, but you're not going to get everything done that you talked about. And the point I want to drive home when you feel like this is overwhelming, is picking a piece, any piece that you just identified, and being consistent yourself. It starts with us. And doing the work that needs to be done, baby steps to make it happen.
Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for this, Ajia?
Nope. I got a quote. I started reading this book a little bit ago, and I brought this quote out at least once a week since I read this book.
Oh, wow.
And copied it because it comes up all the time.
I'm ready.
The book is I'll Teach You to Be Rich. It's a finance book because I need to figure out my finances. But the quote is, beware of the endless search for advanced tips. So many people seek out high-level answers to avoid the real hard work of improving step by step. It's easier to dream about winning the Boston Marathon than to go out for a 10-minute jog every morning. Sometimes the most advanced thing that you can do is the basics consistently. And that's it.
All right. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut us off because we only have 2 minutes, and I'm going to end there because that speaks exactly to my last little PSA that I got to throw in here right now, which is core profit builders and joining a circle. If you're not a member of a circle and all of this stuff sounds great, but how do you do it? You get back to the basics. You hit all of the core foundational things that need to be done and stop trying to do that, bigger, better thing that somebody else is telling you about. And then you heard this other thing and switching and stop.
Yeah.
Just the basics consistently.
Do the basics.
So this wasn't set up, but Ajia and I met in circles, and Ajia and I went through the evolution of what you just explained, and both of us in transitioning from what you just explained to a more focused intentionality.
You just gotta focus in. So for those of you that don't know, we're gonna hit this last point here. I'm gonna hit the last point. I love having this be my show. This last point that I want to make here is for those of you that know about sports, they have something that they do every year where everybody goes back to, what do they call it? Training camp.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call it training camp. And you know what they do in training camp? They don't learn like how to do these brand new advanced techniques and how to do things better. And no, the people that are the best in the world every year go back to the basics. Every year, back to the basics. Boot camp, thank you very much. Back to the basics, nail those basics over and over and over again. All right, y'all, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on. I agree with Wendy, who said that this was a really good talk tonight.
This is great.
Appreciate having you here. Ajia, Dan, thank you so much for co-hosting and taking over Tom's little spot for me tonight. Thanks, y'all. We will see you next week. Bye, y'all.